Good afternoon and welcome to Funny Like a Clown podcast. This is episode 19, April 7th, 2019. We are here to discuss Ellen DeGeneres. And as always, Funny Like a Clown podcast is brought to you by G Vegas Buffalo Sauce for the spicy, sweet, savory taste of game time. There is only one G Vegas available at gvegas.webs.com. And to discuss Ellen DeGeneres, I have on the phone Boston comic Amy T. Amy, welcome to the show.
Dennis, thanks for having me. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. How are things going for you on the comedy scene?
You know what? I can't complain at all.
You're a busy girl. I see that. We're Facebook friends, I know. But I know you're a fan of Ellen. What makes you such a fan of Ellen?
Oh, come on. We're talking about an icon, right?
Absolutely.
Like, like what hasn't she done? She's amazing. She's an amazing human being. Amazing. She's talented. She's incredible.
Sure. What's your favorite memory of her? I mean, out of all the stuff you've seen her do.
You know what? I'll tell you. I think when she had her coming out episode, I was in line to sit in the studio audience.
Really?
Yes, I was in line all day.
Did you get in?
And I was 8 people from the door. You know, the last 2 people. You know how the last 2 people were? Tracy Chapman and Chastity Bono at the time.
Really? So you were right on the cutting edge then, huh?
Yeah.
What are the odds of that? But you can say you were there. Whether you got it or not, you were there, right?
Right. It was still pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, just to say you were there. So she starred in the sitcom Ellen from 1994 to 1998. What do you remember most about the TV show, other than you didn't get in?
Other than I didn't get it. That it was funny. It was, it was pretty. It was a fun show, right? I just rewatched some of the episodes not too long ago, just on. I streamed it. It was fun. It was just it was a fun show. She was likable, right?
Sure.
And then of course the iconic coming out episode.
She had an outgoing personality, absolutely. But wasn't she dating another actor at the time? Because I remember I saw she was in a movie with Harrison Ford, the girl she was dating.
And was that Anne Heche at the time?
Is that who it was? Because I remember they were taking over Hollywood. They were both just doing such big stuff, and like most Hollywood couples, it didn't last. But for a while, they were on top of the world, the two of them. But she hosts her syndicated talk show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show, since 2003 till now. And I mean, that's probably what she's best known for. She's today's Oprah Winfrey, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
Because, and I thought about it. I didn't think about this till just a few minutes ago, but I mean, on the talk show circuit, now that Jay Leno's retired and David Letterman's retired, she's kind of the veteran of the talk show circuit now,
Yeah, as far as long standing, right?
Yeah, as far as doing it the longest now, yeah, she's the veteran of the show. Where Jimmy Fallon and, Jimmy Kimmel and, Stephen Colbert, they're all new to the scene as compared to her. She's the veteran of the circuit now, so not a bad spot to be, right?
I would say so, not, yeah.
No. So she started her stand-up career in the 80s, which included a 1986 appearance on The Tonight Show, in Mr. Wrong in 1996, Ed TV in 99, and The Love Letter in 99. But being on the Carson Tonight Show, that's so much more special, don't you think? I mean, being on the Carson era.
Well, back then, right? Like that was the thing to do. That's what made or break you, right?
Right. I mean, it's a great credit to be on nowadays to say you've been on the Tonight Show. But there's so much, YouTube, and there's so much access people have to comedy. Where back then it was, if you were on one episode, you were a made comic.
Right, and then she has to get sit down too, if I remember correctly.
That's right. If you get the wave, that means Johnny liked you. If he waves you to come on over, you get the sit down spot, and then that's it. You get the thumbs up from Johnny. But do you remember any of these other ones? I mean, Mr. Wrong, Ed TV, and The Love Letter.
I remember Mr. Wrong. Ed TV vaguely. I remember them coming out. I don't remember seeing them. Mr. Wrong, I remember seeing.
Okay. So that was her climb up. Now here's one everybody's going to remember, including me. She was the voice of Dory in Pixar's Finding Nemo in 2003. She won a Saturn Award for it. She was the first female to win for a voiceover work ever. And do you remember? Now my son, he was about the time we saw that. I seen it. I mean, did you see the movie?
I did, and I saw Finding Dory.
And it was just, I mean, it was exciting from the start to the finish. You couldn't take your eyes. There was no down point at all in that movie. And
No, that was a really good one.
I remember her joking around that they should make a second one, a Finding Nemo 2, but that would be. Now, she was a judge on American Idol in 2010, the ninth season. Do you remember being a judge on American Idol?
I do. I remember that she really didn't have anything bad to say ever.
So she wasn't a Simon Cowell about it?
Not at all.
She didn't take the negative point. She took the positive point, which is good. You need somebody to be, there's enough people going to kick you down in this business, right? That you need a few to pick you up.
Yeah, I think that was a good mix. You know, she liked what she liked, but she always had positive feedback, which I think there's always something positive to be found, even if it's in a bad performance. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
As a comic, that you can, we beat our own selves up on stage,
right.
but, you know, there's always something positive that comes out of a bad performance, I think.
Even out of a bad set, if you just got the guts to go up there and do it, you're already, doing more than a lot of people don't even have the guts to try. So even if you suck, at least you have the guts to try, is what I say.
Absolutely.
I remember, who was it? William Hung years ago. He tried out, and he was just horrible. But hats off, the guy had the guts to try, So good for him.
You know what? He didn't have a bad run after that either.
Yeah, he ended up. I said, he was so bad that he was good. It was so funny that he was that bad that it was likable.
Right.
But now in 1997, she came out as a lesbian on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And her character on Ellen also came out to a therapist on the show who was also played by Oprah Winfrey. But
yep.
What do you remember the most about that episode?
That it was just, for me, just being iconic, right? Like, it represented someone in television that represented me and who I was.
Sure.
And at the time, I was just coming out myself. I was just coming out myself. So it kind of made it okay.
It was an inspiration for you, right? I mean, to see.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
The series went on to explore LGBT issues, including the coming out process. They went on to explore that, and
Hollywood wasn't ready.
And I mean, but she went on. She became, whether she asked for it or not, she was the person who all young people that wanted to come out and weren't sure how to do it, or what. I mean, she became the hero for those people, whether she wanted to be or not. That's the role she took.
That's it. She became the face of what it looked like. Absolutely.
Sure. So I mean, I'm now, you're openly gay, and I see you and your wife. You're married to. You're a lovely couple. I see all your Facebook pictures. You're the cutest couple ever. But I mean, talk a little bit about what was it like your experience coming out, and how did that episode of Ellen, like you said, it was about the time you came out. How did it affect you?
It just I don't know if I ever took a stance. I just was who I was, and I don't know if I thought about it as much as it was gonna be coming out as being on stage. Coming out was gonna be such a big deal. I didn't think about it as much. I just knew this is who I was. This is what I talk about. This is my life.
Right.
So it was what I could derive from.
So were you more worried about it in your comedy career or in your personal life with family and friends?
So personal life came first, and comedy came after. For me, it was very freeing. Finally, I was able to be exactly what I was inside.
Right, you got to be who you were, right? And how did family and friends, how did they take it first when that happened?
It was an adjustment for people, I think.
Right.
Right.
And
it was still pretty new back then, not as well received, and just certainly not as open as it was, and some people didn't want to believe it.
Sure. It's come a long way, and Ellen's got a big part of why it's come a long way, where it's not as scary to open up about it anymore as it used to be. It was, back in the day, it was more scary than nowadays.
Oh, for sure. Although I will say, in this climate now, it feels like it's gone backwards, right?
Yeah, it's a weird time now. Everybody's offended by everything now. I don't think it's just that, but I think everything's gone backwards.
No, not so much offended by it by any means, but it's I'm a lot more timid being on stage now as a gay person than I was 15 years ago when I started.
Okay, so I mean, your family, it was an adjustment. How was it in comedy? Was it an adjustment there too, or did you get more work, less work, or the same?
You know what? I didn't even think about it. I just wrote from my heart, right? I just wrote what was funny for me. At the time, I was married before to someone else, and I wrote about being married to you know, it just was me. I got a lot of advice though, not to be just gay on stage, you know.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't know how not to.
Some people, that's all they talk about when they gay. They get up there and that's all they talk about. And it's like, okay, but you know, you hit some other subjects here, it'd be great, so I can see what they're
Well,
talking about. But
that's why comedy's so subjective, right? Like you talk about what you know. Maybe it sounds like you're talking about being gay a lot, but you know whether it's
that's your
whether
life.
you're
That's what you can relate to. Yes, they say
yeah,
the
you
real
know,
life stuff's funnier than anything you can make up too.
that's so true.
But I mean, with
like,
that for you, you just finally you had to be who you were, and that was what finally made you come out. It didn't matter what people thought; you had to be who you were.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So now I'm going to take this opportunity here because I haven't told anybody this other than my family who knows, and not because I was ashamed of it or anything, because I didn't think it was anybody's business. And I'm not coming out here, but I've never told anybody, but my son is gay, and I only have one child, and I love him to death. And I got to say, I can give you as a parent, when he came out to me, because I mean, if there's any young kids listening to this episode of Funny Like a Clown podcast, and you know, Ellen's the hero, and they're thinking about coming out, you can give them, you know, your view of what it was like to come out. But I want to give the parents' view where it was more shock for me, and it's like I think he misunderstood that shock as disapproval, which it wasn't disapproval because I got plenty of gay friends and I had no problem with it, but it was more, how did I not see this coming? And I think he misunderstood that, and it was kind of a little bit of a rift. And I'm a victim of parental alienation, and I often wonder if, you know, in that rift. But I want to say that, you know, parents are only kids that grew up, you know, and kids make a mistake of looking at their parents as they're perfect, they're never going to make a mistake. Well, they're human just like anybody else. They have the good days, they have the bad days, they make mistakes. So I just wanted to put in, don't take confusion for unacceptance, because it's an adjustment for everybody, not just the people coming out.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt, because you're right. Like, you're not prepared for, there's not a book that comes out, I think.
Yeah. How do you handle this exactly, you know? But
right, and you know, like, and you're just reacting naturally first, and then you think and process after, you know. And I don't think I can't be mad at, you know, I can't be mad at when people react at certain things, but you're right.
So in 2008, Ellen married her longtime girlfriend, Porita de Rossi. Did I not pronounce that right?
Portia de Rossi.
All right, close enough. But and they were saying that in California, the law finally changed where they could get married. I mean, what was that like as a time for you? The laws changing where you could get married.
Oh, it's super excited. Matter of fact, I was one of the first people in Massachusetts to get married. My local, you know, newspaper did a big article on me and my wife at the time when we, applied to get married in Massachusetts, and it was very exciting. But if you remember correctly, the Supreme Court went backwards and took it away.
Right.
You know, so that was also, you know, an emotional, like, are you shitting me? Or are you kidding me? Sorry, Dennis.
It's a podcast. You can swear. It's fine.
You know, like, are you kidding me? Like, what? Why? Why do you care? Why?
But even on the state level, I remember Mitt Romney was governor at that time, and he was really against it on the state level.
Massachusetts was the first state to say no.
To pass it, right? Yeah. So, so you were standing in line basically when they passed the law. You were ready to go, right? There were no hesitation, or?
Absolutely not. I wanted the same rights as everybody else. Like, you know, I'm in the same kind of relationship. I wanted the same kind of.
Right. You get up and go to work every day like everybody else. You deserve the same rights as everybody else, right?
Exactly.
That's pretty much. All right. Let's see. Ellen went on to host the Academy Awards, the Grammy Awards, and the Primetime Emmys. And, you know, what an honor it is to host those things. But at the same time, it's dangerous. When you do shows like that, you're going to be compared to the previous people who hosted them. Did you do as good a job as them? And only the best of the best get to, you know, to do those shows. I mean, have you ever been on a show like that where you're worried about people comparing you to someone else, or?
Probably every Friday and Saturday night we go on stage, right, Dennis?
Yeah, right. You get. Is this comic as good as the last one? You always get up your game, right? Are the police coming for you over there? Because I hear sirens.
Yeah. They're. There we go. Sorry.
They went by your house. All right, they're not coming to get you. That's good news. Okay. But let's see. She authored 4 books. Okay. My point. The funny thing is, seriously, I'm kidding. Home Grand Central Life and Style. Have you read any of those books, or?
I have not. I'm sorry to say.
You haven't read any of the books? Okay, I'm not a big reader myself.
Yeah, I really am not, honestly.
But other than author in the 4 book, well, they went on to be bestsellers, so somebody's reading them besides you, even if we're not big readers. But I didn't know this about her. She started her own record company, 1111 Records, as well as a production company, Very Good Productions. And she also launched a lifestyle brand, ED, which was apparel, accessories, baby and pet items. Did you know any of that about her?
My wife single-handedly owns at least 10 pairs
Half
of
the stock?
shoes. Yeah, she loves, like, her shoes my wife swears by her shoes. She says they're extremely comfortable. And I just bought her a couple of things from the new line that she carries at Walmart. I think it's like EV1 or something like that. It's a more of affordable line of clothing than some of the stuff that's at Nordstrom and Lord & Taylor.
Right. She's a big pet activist, pets' rights. I know she's a vegan, which I think is different than a vegetarians. You're eating healthy, and a vegan is just you believe in animal rights, so you don't eat meat, right?
Right.
I think it's something like that. But a good chunk of that money goes to help out pets, and that's always cool because I'm a pet lover, and I think you are too, right?
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, she won She won 30 Emmy Awards, 20 People's Choice Awards, and a 2016 Presidential Medal of Freedom. So, 30 Emmy Awards. Can you imagine that?
I have a tattoo of an Emmy on my stomach because I hope to win one someday.
We'd settle for just one. She's got 30, right? So,
right?
Good for her. She credits some of her influences being Woody Allen, Steve Martin, Carol Burnett, and Bob Newhart. Who are some of your influences in comedy?
I would say that's a tough one, right? That's like there's a little bit of everybody in there.
Well, Ellen, obviously, she was a big influence on you. But was there anybody else that really?
Sure. I remember watching like when I was 17, 16, 17, watching like VH1 Stand Up Spotlight and being, knowing that's with Rosie O'Donnell would host, and knowing that was something I wanted to do, but couldn't point exactly what it was,
Yeah.
And so I think watching any kind of comedy like that, and I would say Suzanne Westenhofer was a big influence for me when I saw her stand-up special on HBO. Like, it was like, wow, this is the first gay, because Ellen wasn't out at that point. This was the first gay stand-up comedian.
She was the icon before Ellen, right?
Yeah, she was, and she really was the actual icon before Ellen, and Ellen just got the face of it.
Are the police coming back for you? They're making a circle and coming around again?
Honestly, Dennis, if you saw where I live, I'm in the woods, so to have that behind me is...
It's funny, though, because they sound like they're coming for you at your house, but I know they're not, because you're not a lawbreaker. They might come to my house, break a few laws, but no, that's all right. But what's going on, in your comedy career? Where were some of the hot spots people can check you out at?
They can always check me out at experimentalcomedy.com. I got a lot of exciting stuff going on. Next week I celebrate 9 years of sobriety, and since then, my comedy career has changed, and I've just developed since being sober and getting my mental health under control. My comedy career has changed, right? Like, I do a lot more speaking. The comedy that I do is a lot more poignant, I think.
Quality time now, right?
And then I just I just sold out my one-woman show up in North Andover last week, which was exciting, and I got to talk about my substance abuse and mental health in a more of a comedy slash, speaking sort of way, which was a challenge.
You spread awareness for that within your comedy, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Which I do the same thing. I'm a big father's rights activist, and I do the same thing in my routine. And while they're laughing, you got them thinking about it too. So you're killing two birds with one stone.
Exactly. And as you know, it just makes makes the performance that much more genuine to you. And when you get something to say and you have a platform to use it, it's kind of nice,
Yeah, absolutely. You get your point across. You're helping out people at the same time as doing what you love. So it's a win-win.
Exactly.
All right, so we got a few fan questions here about Ellen. You want to do a few fan questions?
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's see. Mike McMahon writes in, I'll simply point to her timing as a comedian It was about as perfect as you could strive for. Which I've seen some comics on the scene. You know, some of them are killer writers, but their stage presence and delivery are so horrible. Where Ellen's was good. I mean, do you think delivery is a big part of comedy?
I do, right? Like, I do. I mean, sometimes, we're off ourselves, and you can tell when
Oh
we're
yeah.
off.
If you don't do it for a while, if you hit like a cold streak, you don't do shows, then you go back. It takes you a while to get your timing back.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Or sometimes as a comic, you're always changing it, right? To see if maybe a half a second makes a difference.
Yeah, I do that. I recorded myself a lot too, because I noticed when you first start out, you do the open mics, you get 5 minutes, and you get in the habit of speed talking because you're trying to fit it in with as much as you can in. And I realized I had to slow down, do less material, at least let them hear you. Speed talking is not a good thing.
It's so funny. When we first start doing 5 minutes, it seems like forever, and now it's like, wait a minute, it's already over?
Yeah, I know, right? I got way more now. Well, let me go. All right. Let's see. Jackie Peterson writes in, she's always good, simply, which, I mean, I guess if she's one of your heroes, can do no wrong in your eyes, right?
Well, like, name something that she doesn't do good, right? Like, I mean, her entire show is a platform of positivity, giving back. Like, it's funny. I remember when I had the restaurant and she was on it in the morning at 9 in the morning, and I'd look out into the dining room and everybody was watching TV with a smile on their face because they were all watching Ellen from 9 to 10.
Well, that's
And it
the
was
power
like,
of positivity right there, yeah.
yeah, and she just brings joy on a daily basis for an hour.
Sure, and everybody wants to be around a positive person. Nobody wants to be around negative people because that just brings you down, you know?
Of course.
All right, let's see. Dennis Connor writes in, true to herself, I remember seeing her on Dangerfield's Young Comedian special before she came out and was just plain funny. But I think most of those people on Dangerfield's Young Comedian special went on to be legends, didn't they? I mean,
they had a good stepping stone for sure.
Yeah, I mean, back then, I mean, there was no, if you got on a show like that, I mean, there was late night TV and there was HBO just came around, but they didn't have the YouTube access and, the many channels that do it now to see comedy. There was no Netflix.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so much more opportunity to self-promote yourself. You don't need to be discovered in a comedy club.
Yeah, and I mean, Dangerfield, he only had so many slots, and I mean, only the best of the best get on there, the ones that impress Dangerfield. And again, like Carson, if you got Dangerfield's okay, you were a made comic, I guess, right?
I guess.
All right, Chris Barros writes in her bit about gum disease. Do you remember her comedy bit about gum disease or no?
I do not, no.
No, I don't either. I remember she had one, and it kind of upset me as a comedian. She had one routine where she talked to God, and people were comparing it to Bill Cosby, where Bill Cosby did the routine, he talked to God, and it was like, but it was so different than what Bill was doing, but they were giving her shit because they were saying she stole talking to God from Bill Cosby. It was like, well, it was a completely different routine about talking to God, though, and I mean,
I do remember that, and I remember that bit, and I didn't. Yeah, I mean, as a comic, we end up finding premises that are the same or similar to other comics.
same subject, yeah, but if your view on it's totally different, what does it matter if you're hitting the same subject, right?
Right, but I'm sure we both know a lot of comics that are very touchy about that. I'm touchy about it. I know.
Oh yeah, you work hard on your material. You don't want people stealing it. Yeah, that's a big no-no in comedy. I know that. Yeah.
Not like that, but I felt like those were two different bits.
Right.
About the same subject.
That's about what I thought about it too. All right, we end off every show here with some trivia, and I got to tell you, nobody does good on the trivia. So if you don't get any of these right, don't worry about it. But I got some trivia about Ellen. And most people don't get any. A few people got one. I've had, I think, one or two people get two. Nobody's ever got three. So if you go 3 for 3, you've set the bar. And if you don't, you're right in with the rest, so don't worry. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What was the episode of Ellen called in which she came out on? What was the name of that episode? Do you remember the episode where she came out?
Nope.
It was called the Puppy episode.
Okay.
All right. So we're 0 for 1. All right. Number 2. What TV show did Ellen begin her acting career on?
Ooh, TV show that she began her acting career on. I got nothing.
Nothing. Open House. I guess it only ran for one season, a show named Open House, and that's where she got a spot on that. All right. This is the last one. We can win it in the end here. Ready? What year was Ellen born?
Let me see. She's 61. So, I got to do some math. Hold
Get your
on.
calculator out. Here we go.
1958.
1958, January 26th. There you go. You saved yourself. You're 1 for 3, which is about what everybody else does. But Amy, thanks for being on the show. What are your parting words that you want people to know about Ellen DeGeneres?
She's fantastic, right? I don't think I can really say anything different than not anybody else doesn't already know.
Yeah, I'd say recommend something to watch, but no matter what you watch, it's all good, so it don't matter. Catch anything of hers, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, check out her new Netflix special and Unrelatable. That was pretty good, right?
Keep watching, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, good luck in your comedy career, and I'll catch you on the scene soon. Sound good?
Thanks a lot, Dennis. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, comedian Amy T right there talking about Ellen DeGeneres, and certainly, man, her award shelf just must be packed with awards, because you know when that happens, when you're the best of the best, and people, we look up to people like her on the comedy scene. That's what we want to achieve sometime out of Beantown here, baby. This is Funny Like a Clown podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Wirth. Thank you for tuning in as always. Keep laughing, and we'll catch you with the next episode. Bye-bye.